Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Tourism Nova Scotia webinar series. My name is Nick Fry. I'm the Manager of Business Development with Tourism Nova Scotia, and I'm really happy that you could join us today. Today we have Discover and Answer the Questions Your Customers Are Asking Online, an introduction to search engine optimization for content. Today is Thursday, December 3rd, and again, thank you so much for joining us. For those of you who aren't familiar with Tourism Nova Scotia, we are the provincial marketing organization for the province. We market Nova Scotia as a vacation destination and lead initiatives to grow the tourism industry. Now, COVID-19 and the related travel restrictions have devastated the industry. And this webinar series offers a practical applications to help build your business and improve as we move through the pandemic and when we're ready to welcome visitors. So again, thank you for joining us. And we partnered with Digital Nova Scotia to offer this webinar today. We have Hannah Edgar on as well. So if there's any questions, we're all here to answer them. And if we can't answer them, we'll make sure we have Digital Nova Scotia help us out with that. We may go over an hour, and that's okay. If you have somewhere else to go, we're okay with that. We will be posting this, and you can come back if you have to leave. If you can stay, that's great. We really encourage you to post your Q&A at the bottom. So anytime throughout, put your questions at the bottom in the chat, and we will definitely be able to answer those whenever Michael is able to answer the questions. If anyone at any time mentions any links or anything, we'll make sure we share that in the chat. Within 24 hours, you'll receive a survey to give us some feedback on how you thought the webinar went. And again, this webinar, as well as all previous webinars, are on our website. We'll share out the details about that at the end. So again, we have Michael McMillan today with McMillan Search. And Michael has been helping companies with their SEO strategies and empowering them to achieve their goals in-house through communication. Michael has over 10 years in the field of SEO with roles ranging from in-house to lead in an agency's SEO team. And as a consultant now, Michael empowers teams to consider organic search in all strategies. We know that this is very important, especially with all of our visitors. Most of our visitors moving online, and to be able to reach them in the most effective way possible is so important. So really happy that Michael's here today. Would like to welcome Michael to start to share his presentation, and look forward to it. Again, if you have any questions throughout today, put them in the bottom in the chat. Seeing lots of welcome, hello, positive start to the webinar, so thank you so much. And Michael, whenever you're ready, we'll just take it over to your presentation.
Thanks, Nick. All right.
I was about to ask if you're still there.
I am still there, sorry. Okay. All right. And of course. Are you guys seeing that? I'm not seeing that.
It's all right.
You are? Oh. Okay. My apologies, everyone. Just getting in here. Stop sharing for a second. I'll be right back in.
So we're just going to wait till Michael's able to share his screen there.
Okay, I am sharing, but it's telling me, Nick, that sharing is paused. Bringing your shared. Oh, let me bring my shared window to the front. Is everybody seeing that now?
Yeah, we're good. Technical difficulties, it's okay.
Okay, my apologies,
Thanks,
everybody.
No worries.
No worries, Nick. Thank you, Nick, and thank you, Tourism Nova Scotia and Digital Nova Scotia as well. Today, we're going to talk about discovering the questions being asked in search results. It's a really powerful tactic for coming up with content ideas when you're stuck and you're looking for something beyond just your main product service offering, or just your branded name, something to drive people in through a different avenue. And so, yeah, as Nick gave you a little breakdown on myself, my name is Mike McMillan. I'm the principal SEO consultant and owner of McMillan Search. Oh, I'll start my video. My apologies. Everyone can see my background now. Perfect.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, what I was saying, if you want to connect with me on LinkedIn, I also host a group called SEO Brunch in there as well, that I highly recommend people join. I host a monthly meetup about SEO as well. All kinds of people join, business owners, marketing, people that are specifically doing SEO as well. And you can find all that information on my LinkedIn page. All right, so if you guys want to follow along, I highly recommend you have a web browser. A tool I really like to use is Google Search Console. It's sort of like analytics. It's free. I highly recommend getting that set up. It really gives you an insight on what keywords are actually driving traffic and can help you figure out what's going on technically with your website if you've got some accessibility issues or anything along those lines. I'll mention a Chrome extension if you're using a web browser. I like Chrome. I know there's been concerns about security issues. Even if you just can keep Chrome going for this extension, I find it very powerful, and it's free as well, called Keyword Surfer. And that gives you a little bit of insight on what kind of keywords you can go after, and it's very useful for informing that. And again, it's free. And however you like to organize this information, I also recommend you keep a spreadsheet for updating this information, keeping track of what pages you're going after, what opportunities you find. And today we're going to talk about content specifically, but I wanted to share this. I found this very useful off of Moz. It's a hierarchy of what SEO needs are. Starting at the bottom, like what's the most important thing is the ability to access your site. What we're going to focus on today is developing compelling content. And from there, it becomes kind of a game of optimizing and increasing the user experience and getting that information out there and tweaking things and getting getting people's attention. So we start with what's essential and then we move towards what improves the competitiveness. So we're going to focus today on the second part, compelling content. So we're trying to figure out what kind of questions people are asking in search results, and then we're going to develop content to answer those questions. Today, we're going to cover why answer these questions, what questions are being asked and how to discover those questions, and how do I answer these questions when I'm ready to go forward. So first off, why answer these questions? Well, discover content ideas. When people are creating content plans, I mean, there's usually a few straightforward things you want to answer, but you come to a point where you got to figure out, where do I go from here? Like, where do I even start? So when you're trying to come up with a content plan, this is a great tactic to add into your content ideation to come up with questions. And it's actually backed by some information, because Google thinks these questions and other search engines think these questions are relevant. And we'll show you tactics as well to determine what kind of volume, how many people, when I say volume, how many people are searching these questions in an average month. We also want to build authority. And authority is a metric that Google uses for ranking. They've been trying to move away from it, but it's really tough. It's basically backlinks. If you hear people say we want to build backlinks, but it's not just how many backlinks, it's the quality and quantity of these backlinks. And quality is definitely a big deal when it comes to building authority, because you can have 100 great backlinks from garbage pages, but that's not going to be as good as, say, like 2 very strong high quality links. And how we build this authority is we're creating content on the peripheral that can be shared outside of your normal service offering, and it's more likely to get shared. We also want to increase relevancy. That's basically proving the fact that you're the expert in this subject matter. You're figuring out the questions being asked around your main subject matter, and you're answering those questions in other pieces of content, and you're doing some interlinking with this as well. So the questions you're answering and the content you're developing is pointing back to a main service offering, and that is showing relevancy by exploring these questions on the peripheral of your main subject. And we also, ultimately, we want to increase qualified traffic. We want you want to drive more people to your site. You want more people to convert on your site, and the more eyes you can get on things, the higher likelihood of those people converting into, say, a paying customer. So again, we want to discover content ideas. We want to build authority and increase relevancy, and we also want to increase qualified traffic. So how do we discover what questions are being asked? First thing I suggest you do is look into Google Search Console to find out what keywords are driving traffic to your main service or product page. And how we do this, log into Google Search Console, filter for the page, I would say home if it's your main service offering. If you have multiple service offerings, it can be a service. Depends how your page is laid out. I would look at all of them. So I'd look at your home page to see if you're triggering searches that are non-branded. And that could be a subject matter to go after, but usually it's a service or a product page. You want to explore those pages and see what keywords you're ranking for. And we like to filter out branded queries. Branded queries, you want to confirm that you do rank for branded queries, but it's not going to help inform you for getting your service offering out there. To give you an idea of what this looks like, this is a screenshot of my search console in here. We filtered it down for the last 3 months. I've removed the query brunch. My personal company name doesn't have as much volume from a branded standpoint, but the meetup I host called SEO Brunch does, and we do have a page dedicated to that. So we pulled out all queries that had to do with brunch. You'll see up there it's a negative brunch. And then we filtered it down for the homepage to determine what queries, and queries being keywords, were driving traffic. So for us, the main service that we're offering is SEO consulting or being an SEO consultant. So that gave us the information to start exploring what kind of questions are being asked around this main subject matter. Now, I know none of us here are SEO consultants, and I believe most of the people here are either coming from a tourism background or a small business operator. So for the examples, I'm going to run, if you guys don't want to learn about SEO consulting, so Puffins, Nova Scotia was one that came up. And I love puffins. So let's dig a little bit deeper into Puffins, Nova Scotia to determine what kind of questions are being asked. So I recommend this Chrome extension, as I said before. Keyword Surfer gives you a little bit more information on how many people are actually searching and can help you discover new keyword ideas. So looking up Puffin, Nova Scotia, this is a screen cap of a Google search in Chrome with the SEO Surfer extension installed. You'll see right at the top here, you can see the volume. I've defaulted this to the US. You can change it to Canada if you want, more or less because I think bringing in outside traffic for somebody for tourism is a lot more powerful in the future. I mean, right now, I know we probably only have Nova Scotian people visiting, or maybe the Atlantic bubble if we can get back into that. But in the bigger scheme of things, we're trying to drive more people from away from Nova Scotia to come and visit and explore puffins. So we want to know what people are trying to discover for puffins in Nova Scotia. And this is what the search results look like with SEO Surfer in place. You can see we got the volume up here. This is the average cost if you're doing any paid campaigns. Just gives you an idea of how competitive things can be. Then on the right-hand side here, it gives you an idea of other keywords, the volume behind them, and then given a rough similarity to it. So like Bird Islands has got a lower similarity because it's a little bit more broader, but Puffin, Maine, okay, it's not Maine specific, but there's a little bit more search for that, specifically in the US. You can switch that out for Canada to get a little bit different results. And then on the right-hand side here, you've got a volume. And this is roughly how many people in a month search these queries or these keywords. Diving in a little bit deeper here, yeah, you'll see the similarity scores. Puffin Tor, Maine, so that's getting a little bit more specific. Maine puffins, it's sitting around that 15, 13%, but there's some nice strong volume around this. People searching puffins. So just a great tool, free. Highly recommend using this while you're doing some keyword selection. And this is where that spreadsheet comes in place. I would create a tab on your spreadsheet where you're just collecting good keyword ideas, and record the volume as well, because you want to know which ones are driving more volume. Now, there might be more competition when it's a little bit higher volume, so you got to take that in consideration. You don't want to go after a keyword that nobody's really searching for, because it's not going to convert into any traffic. Also in those search results, you'll see there's a section called People Also Ask. And this is where I start when I'm trying to figure out what kind of questions people are asking. Literally, this is where the other questions, when people search this, what are they asking? And with this kind of content in here, you'll see it defaults to 4. A lot of these are very specific. Where can I see puffins in Nova Scotia? Where's the best place to see puffins? Where can I see puffins in Canada? I'm not sure if Cornwall is close to that area, but I would say that one's not. But 3 of these questions are really strong, I would say, right off the bat. So this is where I like to start discovering these questions. And again, I would copy these questions into that spreadsheet, creating a new tab for further exploration down the road. Another tool I like to use is Answer the Public, excuse me. And with Answer the Public, it's a tool where you can plug in a keyword, a query. So I'd go back to that main service offering that we found, or that keyword that's driving traffic, puffins in Nova Scotia, input it, and it comes up with literally the who, what, when, where, and why, what, and can kind of questions that people are asking. This output is an image output. We'll zoom in a little bit closer here. But it does export as a CSV as well, which is a spreadsheet default. So you can easily pull this information in and make a list of additional questions people are asking. One thing I would also, you'll note here, even though these are questions, there's no question marks at the end of those questions, because surprisingly, well, not surprisingly, but people don't like to put question marks when they ask questions in Google. So if you're looking for search volume and you have a question, remove that question mark, because it won't trigger it won't tell you how much search volume is there. But when you remove the question mark, you'll be able to see what kind of volume is actually behind those search results. Then Also Asked is another tool I like to use. And the great thing about this tool is it gives you a hierarchy of the questions. So this is a great way of creating the secondary subject matter in your piece of content. So if I was going to write an article about where can I see puffins in Nova Scotia, well, people are asking, are there penguins in Nova Scotia? We know there's not. That could be a great secondary subject matter. So the main topic is where can I see puffins in Nova Scotia? And then at some point, you can even make a bit of a joke out that these penguins in Nova Scotia is a secondary question that's being asked. Are there puffins in PEI? I'm not sure of this either. I'd be curious to find out. And then you see it gets a little bit further and a little bit more granular as you go down. So a great idea to get kind of an idea of the hierarchy of questions. And this is at alsoask.com. And determining how many people are searching, Keyword Surfer. Again, any questions so far? I saw the chat going, so I'm really curious.
Hey, Michael. Yeah, there's anybody that's on the call, any questions at all, put it in the Q&A at the bottom. We do have one question, and that was, can you break down US further for keywords, like as an example, like the northeastern US? To chop it up geographically.
That's a great question. And there's lots of third-party tools that allow you to break down this free tool doesn't get that granular, unfortunately. You can just do it from a country level. But tools like Ahrefs, SEMrush, Moz will allow you to drill down at least to a city level. There's even some tools that you can get down to a postal code level.
Okay, so maybe we can
look like.
Thank you, and we'll make sure that we capture that and share those examples out when we send a follow-up email, or maybe we'll send it in the chat at the end, just to say, like, here's the paid website Michael discussed.
Excellent.
Thanks. Any other questions before we move on? Perfect. That's not necessarily a bad thing, Michael. You're doing such a great job explaining it.
Awesome. So now we're going to determine, how do I answer these questions? We want to determine how many people are searching this. For puffins Nova Scotia, we got 210 monthly searches. That's decent enough. I'd say anything over 20, even if it had, say, 10 monthly searches, there probably is a lot of high intent on that. So it's something to consider when you read that question that people are asking, or the subject matter. If it's only 10 and it's very specific, and it's very specific to what you offer, it may be still worth exploring. So we want to discover if there's volume. And if there's volume, yes, you want to create a new blog post or a new piece of content. I'm saying blogging here, but it can be any piece of content, any sort of page that's explaining what you do. If there's not a lot of volume behind this, then I highly recommend that it becomes a secondary piece of subject matter, because those questions being asked in Google search result, even if they don't have volume behind them, they still are a signal that there's some relevancy to this, and you could still rank for them, but it not necessarily something you'd go after as the main subject matter, but you can answer it as a secondary piece of the bigger piece of content. And once you've done this, I highly recommend you review the competition. And so Puffins, Nova Scotia, our example again here. We go in here to see where to see puffins in Nova Scotia. I believe actually Puffin Boat Tours, if you're on the call, I'm using it as an example because I just love puffins, but you're ranking second position for this, for the term Puffins, Nova Scotia. And you'll see it's just below the people also ask, which is kind of a tough position to be in, because even though you're in second position, that people also ask section is pushing you down in the search results a little bit. But the person that's performing well at the very top is where to see puffins in Nova Scotia. And you'll see, they're specifically asking a question in the search results. People are asking this question. They want to explore that. So where can I see puffins in Nova Scotia makes sense to be the main subject matter. And then you see they're getting into secondary questions underneath that. And the way they've done this is there's a section at the beginning of their blog posts that has a list. In HTML, it would be usually an unordered list or an ordered list, so either numbers or a bullet point. And those questions link to content further along, but they are linked for Google to follow. They have that question in there, and they are answering this question further into their piece of content. Because the way they have it structured, they're able to get these little sub-site links. And what this actually does is increases your footprint in the search result by about 12%. Now, 12% might not seem like a lot, but when you're trying to get people's attention, this is a great eye drawer, because there's a little bit of color to it. There's more space being taken up by than the other search results. And they also have this opportunity to rank for the people also ask section below that. So this is a great example of content that is outperforming the one below it, but you can go back and look at this piece of content. Now, I wouldn't say copy it. Copying content's not going to really get you anywhere, but go to see what kind of questions they're answering. You're your own subject matter expert. You can answer these questions and try to outperform the top results. If you're, say, in the second position, I would look at the first position one. I would also look at the one below you just to get an idea, because they're the one that are trying to take you out eventually. Maybe they're not actively doing it, but it's the one that could potentially take over your search result as well. So you want to stay in that second position. You want to consider getting up to that first position, but you don't want to ignore that third position, that up and comer. So and once you've discovered what kind of questions you want to develop here and what kind of questions you want to answer, and you're creating your piece of content, first thing you want to do is determine if you already have a piece of content that's ranking, because you don't want to create a piece of content that's competing for something else you already have written or developed, because that piece of content that you have that's already developed, it's got age behind it. It has some authority already built into it that you want to leverage. So instead of creating new, refine that content that's already ranking for that. The easiest way to do this, I have a search section on my site. Maybe your site's not big enough to have a search section. We'll go into tactic for that, but you quickly just search that main keyword that you're going after, that specific question, to see what comes up. Try a couple variants too, because sometimes the on-site search is not as intelligent as Google search, and it can't tell the difference between various, like the variants on the different keywords. But if you don't have search on your site's a little bit smaller, it's not set up for that, you can use what we call search operators. And that search operator is that site colon part at the beginning. So this is my own website for SEO consulting. My main page comes up first for that. So what I'm telling Google here is site colon, so only pay attention to this domain, McMillanSearch.com. If you have a subdomain on there, you might want to put like, I don't know, blog.mcmillansearch.com. Or if if it's your main site, www, right here, we're going to get everything that's for the domain, because we're doing that. You can also do this in the negative, where let's say I had a blog and I don't want to search my blog, and it's at blog.mcmillansearch.com, or it's at mcmillansearch.com/blog. I can do a negative site colon mcmillansearch.com/blog for an example. So then I'd be telling Google, I'm looking for everything on the McMillan search site, but not under this subfolder or this subdirectory. And then after that, you can just put in your keywords like you would do a normal Google search. So here I've done SEO consulting. If you want exact phrase, so SEO space consulting, just put quotes around that. And what this will do is output a list of pages that mention it or are close to mentioning that keyword that you're going after. So any questions about that so far?
All right, we got a few questions here. I'm a small accommodation and compete with the OTA, online travel agents. Will doing this help drive potential customers direct to me? It is hard to compete with the OTAs. And further, I guess I'm not sure how travelers are searching for places to stay specifically.
Is that question? Can I see the question, Nick? Sorry, it just you broke up
Yeah,
a little bit.
if you go to the bottom Q&A, it might be. Do you want me to read it for you again?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, so small accommodation operator having difficulty competing with online travel agents. Just wondering if SEO will help drive potential customers directly to them. It's hard to compete with the online travel agents, and further to that, how are travelers searching for places to stay?
Yes, they are. I was in the tourism space before I went out on my own. They are a challenge because they do have big marketing teams behind them. So I can appreciate that. This is a tactic that you can drive it. One thing I found was a great leveler is when Google My Business came out. And because when you say, we had this, like I worked for a place that did hotels, and we had hotels in Manhattan, which was very competitive. But Google My Business was able to level that a little bit because you're able to get into the search results a little bit better. What would happen is if, like, say you did the plural of that, let's say hotels in Manhattan, then you would get the aggregators, we used to call them, the Expedias and all that. And they would come up first. There's just so much authority behind them. And you could be competing with them, but they also, because they're so big, there's stuff that falls between the cracks as well. So developing this content outside of that, or you can still perform well. But sorry, back to that whole, when it's the plural, we found it would trigger the OTAs. But when it was the singular, we would get map results, and then that became a different game. It became a local SEO game. But creating this content around the main subject matter that you're offering, figuring out the questions that people are asking, is giving you another avenue to come in, because you're not getting like the top 10. Well, you're going to have still these, the OTAs do create that kind of content, and it is a bit of an uphill battle. So you got to consider that, but it is possible to perform better than them, and mainly because when they do create a piece of content, sometimes they're an organization. Things will fall through the cracks. They may not be checking in on a regular basis. It may become dated very quickly. So it is something to consider. There's no real silver bullet for working with them, or for taking over their search results. But even having a secondary position below them can be strong, because people, when they're searching and they're researching where they're going to go, they're not just going to click on the first result. If you're learning about an area where you want to go, or something you want to explore, something you want to do, I would go and look at the Expedias, for an example, to get an idea of what the landscape looks like. But I would look at the secondary results as well, because we're getting a little bit more specific. We're getting a little bit more granular. I really want to know what somebody's telling me about it, not somebody who's trying to sell me about it. Even though you are technically trying to sell them about it, you're just trying to sell your business, but it's because you're passionate about it, you love it, what you're trying to do. I hope that answers. Unfortunately, there's no silver bullet for solving that, and it can be a bit of an uphill battle, but yeah.
Okay, so again, thanks, Michael. I would just encourage everyone on the call, if a question pops into your head, or as Michael's speaking or talking about a subject, just put your question in the Q&A, and then we'll be able to address it. Michael's stopping throughout to do that. The Terry that was asking the question said, "Thank you. That makes me feel a little better." So that's good.
No worries, Terry. All right, moving along. So we've refining existing or creating new. So if the content already exists, then yes, you want to rework what's already there. Like I said before, if it's no, then this is a great opportunity to create new content. And once you do have this content created, you want to link back to your main product and service, because to think back on what we were talking about, we're discovering those keywords that were the main product, your main service. We're building this peripheral content to support that, to drive people to it. So you only need to link once. You don't have to link multiple times. I would do it the first mention. If you look at Wikipedia, they follow this structure as well. If you're looking, let's say, at a movie post and they're talking about a certain actor, they'll mention the first time they mention another actor or another movie, they'll link to it, but they could mention that multiple times. They won't do it throughout the whole document, because those second links aren't really driving anything. You want to have at least one link in there, but if it does add to the story, I would say if it's where you want people to kind of drive through, then yes, it does make sense to do it, but you only really need to link once. When you're doing that, use the anchor text that includes the variant of the keyword that you originally went after for the product and service. So your content, so for the puffins one, if we were puffins in Nova Scotia is the main service offering. If we wrote a post about where do we find puffins in Nova Scotia, where do we go to see them, we want to have a link in there about visiting puffins in Nova Scotia, and that would link back to the main article. And I would also include a call to action for conversion. If the post, if it tells the story, if it adds to the story, then having a call to action in there to convert somebody that's really clear, like, you're ready to come and explore puffins in Nova Scotia, click here to book. You can put it at the bottom of the post. If it makes sense, you can tuck it up a little bit higher, but at least have some way for people to convert from your site. We're building these websites just to have something for people to find out. We're building these to help drive business. So we need to have some way for people to convert. And it doesn't always have to be that they sign up for a booking. It might be that they sign up for your email list, which puts you in as a soft conversion. So the person has potential to convert down the line, and now you have them in a campaign that you can follow up with them and nurture them through the process, and eventually get them to convert and come to Nova Scotia to explore puffins. And the last thing I like to consider too is you got to distribute this content. You create a nice blog post, you publish it, great, but who's going to see it? It's good. SEO takes a while. It can take up to 6 months to see results, depending on how often your website's crawled. So add this into your email marketing, include it into social media. Find other ways to repost this in other formats. If you want to go through Reddit and just look to see if people are asking these kinds of questions. Now, if you're working with like a community like Reddit, I like to do the 10-to-1 ratio. Every 10 or 9, I guess it'd be 9-to-1. 9 times in that community, don't be self-promoting, just contribute to the community. And then every once in a while, you can, 1 out of 10, you can tuck in a little plug for yourself. Most communities would be pretty accepting of that. If you just go in and go, here's a link to my thing, because it answers the question, people are just you're likely to get banned from these kind of communities. You can also use paid media to supplement this. And so getting into like an AdWords campaign where you can you'll get immediate results, and you'll get the top, but you're paying to play. You can get the top of the results, so that's right above normally the organic search results. So this distribution, it gets eyes on things. It gives people an opportunity to know what kind of questions are being asked. So if they see it on social media, they could go off social media and start searching this. If they see it in the community, they'll go through and click through it. If they're in a community, usually that will count as a backlink as well. As in email marketing, these are already people you're nurturing. They're already almost converted, so it's great to get that in front of them. So it gives it a little bit more distribution. But it also can lead to external backlinks and gives you some traffic to this post while it's still developing. And when you create a blog post as well, and while you're waiting for SEO to kick in, and these blog posts as well, when you post into things like social media or to like communities like Reddit, pay attention to what the questions are being asked in there, because ultimately you want to create something that's for the user. So if there's questions being asked in there that you haven't answered in the post, go back to your post and rework that content so you're able to answer that question as well. So to recap what we're talking about here, how I would recommend, first off, find out what your service and the products, what your service and products keywords are, the main ones that are driving traffic to those, or at least you're showing up in the search results for it. Discover the relevant questions being asked around those keywords, and create new content around these keywords, or refine existing content. So you want to review that competition, update or create content to answer the question, link from your relevant content back to the service or product, and distribute that content so it gets in front of people. Little shameless plug here. I host an SEO meetup. Everybody's welcome. It's on Zoom next Monday, 21st from 12:30 till 2. Anybody would join, would love it. Just search SEO Brunch. You'll get taken to my website. You can sign up there and you'll get the link for the Zoom. Special bonus for December 21st, we'll be releasing a playbook to highlight how, when you get this content and you're ready to optimize it, how you can optimize that content. And a little bit of a cheat sheet. So that'll be coming out on the 21st, and we'll be reviewing that as well in the SEO Brunch. And I'd like to say thank you again to Tourism Nova Scotia and Digital Nova Scotia. That's my LinkedIn as well. I'm going to open it up to questions. I know there were some questions already fielded here, so I'll open it up to everybody if you want to ask questions, but I'll go through the list of questions if that works with everybody.
All right, thanks, Michael. So anyone on the call, now's a great opportunity to ask Mike any questions you might have that might have popped into your mind. Maybe Mike, once we're moved past this and we're kind of wrapping up our little section, maybe you could type in the web addresses that you talked about if people wanted to further break down, so we can maybe put that in the chat.
Sure.
So I will, we do have 2 questions. Nope, I guess not. So those were already answered. I thought I saw 2 pop up, but no, so that's good. There's only a few questions. If you're trying any of this stuff out and you are having a bit of trouble with it, you can either ask, send us an email, or you can ask Michael in the follow-up that we're offering in January that we had kind of chatted about. So I will leave it there for now. Mike has shared that out, which is great. I really appreciate the overview today, Mike. That's great. And anyone, again, no more questions, so we will just take back over.
Well, there's a couple questions from the previous. Do you want me to go through those that were sent over by Jennifer? Yeah. So
yeah, that's great.
Yeah, I'm just plugging a few. I'll plug a few here in a second here. But we had somebody ask about Bird Islands from Bird Island Boat Tours. Besides keywords, what should my website include? Great question. I would say you want to answer the questions. It's not all about keywords, but keywords is something to be considered. If we jump here, go back to the beginning of the slide here. There is that hierarchy of needs here. There we go. So crawl accessibility is the first thing. You want to make sure your website's discoverable. That's something you can easily figure out by just doing that site colon, that search operator showed before, plus your domain. And if you're seeing no results and your site's not discoverable, so you want to get Google Search Console installed and check in to figure out why it's not being indexed. Creating compelling content's the next step you want to do. So that, like we went through here, you want to discover those questions people are asking and figure out the best way for you to answer those. Then from there, you want to optimize for keywords. I usually consider that in with the compelling content because you're going to be optimizing for keywords as you're creating this content, but it's not like a set it and it's done kind of thing. You want to come back and look at it. So after a piece of content's gone live and you've done your social media push and you're starting to get some traction around it, I'd go back and check it, like check it out a week, check it out a month to see if those keywords are, what keywords are actually driving traffic, because maybe you got the intent slightly wrong and you want to shift things towards other keywords that are actually driving traffic. And when you're in Search Console, if you look in the Performance tab, you can see, you can drill down to specific pages and which keywords are leading to impressions, which are how many times you show up in search results, but which ones are actually leading to clicks, or the ones that are actually people are clicking from that impression to go through and visit your site. From there, you want a great user experience. So that's page speed. Those are things get a little bit more technical, but just have a site that people can use. They can find what they're looking for as well. That's something you can control without having to get a developer in to try to figure out how to make this page load easier. Is it easy for them to go from your main site to book with you, for an example? Share worthy content. So yeah, links, citations, amplification. So that goes back to that distribution. I would include that in after you've done the compelling content, but that again is an ongoing thing. Use a tool like Google Trends to dig a little bit deeper into when things spike. And what Google Trends does, it literally shows you the trends of search results, and it's a score out of 100. And you can go back and look. I think back almost as far as 2004, although search was different. I'd go back and look at a couple of years to see roughly when you get these spikes. And those are times you should probably give this a little bit more of a social push. And then your title, URL, and description to draw higher click-through rates. So once you do get a keyword on the first page, you want to go and look at those search results to see what the competition's doing and try to draw some attention. Because it's less about like having a keyword in the title and description at that point. It's more about drawing people's attention and enticing them to click through and visit your site. And then after that becomes snippet, structured data markup. That kind of falls into the title, URL, and description. It's a way of optimizing and highlighting key pieces of information that can show up in search results. I had another question here. Would a design of a new website help improve SEO? And an informed redesign would definitely help, but I wouldn't just, a design just for the sake of making it look prettier, it's not necessarily going to help from an SEO standpoint. You want to think about that user experience and what's worked for your website in the past. So if you don't have Google Analytics installed or any sort of analytics platform, get an analytics piece on there, reach out and analyze that analytics to figure out who's coming to your site, where they're coming to, and where they're going within your site. Because that'll help you to decide what works on your website and what you want to lean into and put more effort into. So yeah, designing a new website right at the bat, I mean, it'll look nice, you get a little initial push, but you got to think more of how do I inform this redesign and who am I working with? Ask these people questions when you're going in there. Do you do analytics by default? Do you, or can we have analytics installed? Do you offer some training so I can process this analytics? Do you offer a dashboard? Because the analytics can be a bit of a fire hose. So we can understand how our site's performing. Because again, I made this point earlier that your website's not just out there your website's out there to convert and give you an avenue for getting people into your product, service, or offering. And then I had another question here. How do I drive more traffic to my site? How do I measure how much traffic's landing on my page and their level of interaction? That's analytics again. It can be Google Analytics. It can be Adobe Analytics. There's a handful of other analytic platforms. Those are the big two. I'm more familiar with Google Analytics, although I have worked in Adobe Analytics. And with that, you want to review what has performed in the past, and again, lean into and what's been performing, and then use that also to start branching out and figuring out where the peripheral subject matter could be. I have two more questions. What do I need to do to get signed up for Google My Business, Google Analytics, or any other search optimization tools? What I would recommend for Google Analytics and Google My Business and Search Console, those three tools, all you need is a Google enabled email. If your organization has Google enabled emails, you can just log in, you'll find out. If not, you just create yourself a @gmail.com email address, and you can use that to log in to any of these tools and get them set up. They all have great documentation on, once you have that login to get in there, they have great documentation on how to get it all set up. Every site's going to be slightly different, but there's only a couple of avenues to go to get there. Generally, I like to set up Google Analytics first. Then I like to set up Google My Business second, and then Search Console. Google My Business and Search Console can kind of go at the same time. Search Console can usually be verified from an active analytics account. Any questions about that so far?
Nothing popping up so far.
I found the Q&A section too, Nick. Thanks.
Perfect.
I've been watching it.
I know how it is. I know how it is when you're presenting. You don't want to click the wrong button and get down a rabbit hole,
Yeah, totally. And the last question I have in here, it's a great question. What's the most overlooked thing with SEO? I had mentioned this, when you're creating content, you got to think about how that content supports other pieces of content. The best way to support that, or your main subject, is through internal links. And internal links are the most overlooked thing in SEO easily. Because the great thing about internal links, they kind of act like a backlink. So say your homepage has the most authority. Usually it does, because you've got other links that are, like, if you do a talk like I'm doing, people have linked to my main site. If I've joined the Chamber of Commerce, if I've joined Digital Nova Scotia, there's going to be a profile that links back to my main site. So we're transferring authority to the homepage of my site. So it's generally going to be the strongest page on your site. So how you can use that strength on that page from an authority standpoint to move some of that authority around to other pages. So if you want to highlight an article that really relates to what you're trying to do, find a way to link to that article in content on the pages that have the strongest authority. And there's lots of third-party tools to measure this authority, but you can get an idea of authority just by looking at Search Console and figuring out which pages drive the most traffic from a click standpoint. If whatever page, generally they tend to be the ones with the higher authority, and you want to use those to boost up other pages. There was 2 other questions on here. I don't know that the tourism crew has offered to answer.
All right. I'm not sure. Afton, are you on the call? I'm not. I don't have the questions in front of me, but you might want to, if you want to read them out, we can either answer it now or.
Sure. I think one question was specific to someone asking if it was open to them. Jennifer was following up directly. And the other question with regard to programming and whether funding was available, I'll just direct everyone over to tourismns.ca, where we have all of our programs available. And I'm going to put our website into the chat right now. So you can go over there and find all of the programs available, tourismns.ca, under our programs section, and you'll be able to see all of the different programs that we have, including programs around digital marketing and digital adoption as well.
Okay, thank you, Afton. And again, if anyone has any follow-up questions, if you didn't feel that you received an answer to your question, we'll definitely be able to help you out after that. So I think that's all we have right now, Michael, from your presentation, all the questions and answers. So we'll just share our screen back over. Okay, can you see me? Can you see my screen now? Perfect. So as Michael had mentioned earlier, we are going to meet back on Thursday, January 21st, and you will have a link that will be sent to you. So if you start to work through SEO, it's a great opportunity to actually, try out some of the things that we discussed today or on Michael's first webinar. Again, that can be found on our webpage, and we'll give you the link at the end. So thank you again for joining us today. And as I had mentioned, the other webinars are found at tourismns.ca. Really encourage that if you have any questions or anything that pops up after this, you can send us an email at tnsbusiness@novascotia.ca. Sign up to our In Touch newsletter. It comes out twice a month with any relevant data and information. If there's any new programs or anything that you might be able to tap into, we'd love for you to sign up for that. Follow us on Twitter at tourismns. Follow us at LinkedIn through Tourism Nova Scotia. And we also have COVID-19 resources at tourismns.ca/coronavirus. So again, thank you so much for joining us today. And if there's any questions or anything, just send us an email. Hope everybody has a great day.